eyesight, just jump in. Don't be shy. Says the Gemara, Rebbe Eliezer b'Yaakov Omer Koisra, right? Is that where we're holding? I think so. If not, let me know. Rebbe Eliezer b'Yaakov Omer Koisra. So, we're talking about an animal. This is an animal, and you make a rope, you're tying the rope. We're talking about the halacha of kshira. Says the Gemara, Pshita, what's the big deal? So, you tie the rope, you're gonna untie the rope, and therefore it's allowed. Says the Gemara, like in this, the picture, like in this, there are two ropes. And I would think perhaps you're gonna do undo one and let the animal crawl out underneath it, and everything will be good, and just leave it there. And if he leaves it there, what's the problem? So therefore, that's a problem. Hold on a second. Why is Gary calling me on my wife's phone? I have no idea. Gary, please don't call my wife's phone. I'm YouTubing from my wife's phone. You should know better than that. You want to call me on my regular phone. Okay, I have no idea what he's doing. Zog the Gemara. There's nobody here with me today. Not my son-in-law, not Gary, and he's calling me. He knows that I'm YouTubing on my wife's phone because this phone doesn't work very well. What does Yosef want? Oh.
I think YouTube froze. YouTube froze, Eli. Eli, YouTube froze.
Is it still frozen? Let's see. No, it's not frozen by me.
Okay.
You guys still see it frozen? It's still recording, so even if it's
good now. It's good now.
It's good now. Okay.
Even though Luzzy's in Bidu, tell him to get off the internet because he's taking up the bandwidth right now.
It's a good point. So you gotta, I don't know, somebody has to come over and talk to him because I can't get up out of my seat and tell the guys not to play on the internet. Okay, bye. Thank you. It was great. By the way, send you show over. I need some water. I forgot to bring water to my table. Bye. Just kidding. Says the Gemara. I would think one, if you have two ropes, just like we had the other day with two holes on a flask of wine, or by the woman that has two ksharim, she'll leave one over here also. Come on, Shmuel. Halacha, in this halacha that you're allowed to tie an animal in on Shabbos, the halacha is like him. What? Somebody argues on this? What difference does it make if somebody argues? I'm telling you, the halacha is like him. It doesn't seem like from the Mishnah anybody argues on him. He just says his halacha all the way at the end. And we had this lashon before, and it's in Shas a few times. Gemara, Zamarta Tehei. You want me just to learn like a song and it shouldn't mean anything to me? I need to know. Is somebody arguing, somebody not arguing? What's going on? Says the Mishnah. You could tie a pail with a piece of, who's over there in the kitchen? Who's you? Oh, hi wife. Do me a favor, come here a second. I need first of all a cup of water. Actually, because I forgot to bring the cup of water. Second of all, I need to turn on this air conditioner. But you don't have to come into the camera. Don't worry. Nobody will see you. Shkoya.
Why, you're a little hot?
I don't know. It's not like MDY. MDY has that air conditioning. The flow is perfect. It's a solid 20 every single day. It's beautiful. There's a guy that's in charge of it. He's unbelievable. By the way, I was in his house last night, in Gary's house, and his air conditioner here, bring it over here because I won't be able to reach. But here are the cameras. As long as you're behind there, nobody will see you. Amen. The best water I've ever had. So yeah, his air conditioner is on 20 also, but when he comes to base measures, he likes to play games. Not exactly sure why. And everybody in his family knows that he's very, very cold at all times. They said, don't let it be in charge. Everybody. So it's a known thing. Says the Mishnah, so you have a pail and a well, and it's detached. Something happened. You cannot use a rope, because if you use a rope, what's going to happen? You're going to leave the rope there forever, and that's called the kesher shel kayam. So you're not going to make a knot on Shabbos. So what do? Use a piece of clothing, use your shirt, use a belt, a piskio like we had the other day. It's a belt, a girdle, and after Shabbos, you're going to use a normal rope and get your belt out of there, and therefore, it's not a kesher shekayama. Avaloi b'chevel, not with a rope. Rabbi Yehuda matir. Rabbi Yehuda says you're allowed to use a rope. And the Gemara explains it's not just any rope, because that would be a big problem of kesher shekayama. So the Gemara is going to explain that we're talking about a rope that's owned by a weaver. The weaver is going to need it for other things. Anytime. So Rabbi Yehuda is arguing with the shita we had in the other Mishnah, Rabbi Meir, who says as long as you can undo it with one hand, it's considered a non-kesher shekayama, kesher she'eina shekayama. So Rabbi Yehuda says, no, I argue. It has to be literally something that's not there indefinitely, and if it's not there indefinitely, it's not a kesher shekayama. You could do it. If you know you're going to untie it soon, then it's not a kesher. Ein chayavim alav. Says the Gemara, chevel demai, what kind of rope are we talking about? Ilay chevel de alma. If you're talking about just the normal type of rope, Rabbi Yehuda matir, kesher shekayama. How can Rabbi Yehuda say it's mutter to make a knot with a regular rope? Obviously, he's going to leave it there forever on this pail, and that's awesome in the raisa. Elochevel de gardi. We're talking about a weaver's rope. A weaver's rope, whatever that is, means that he's going to need it on the weekday, and he's going to undo. This is a temporary knot, and that's why it's mutter on Shabbos. Lemeimro the Rabbanan Savri Gazrinon chevel de gardi or chevel de alma. We have to explain Rabbanan now. Why do Rabbanan say that it's also to use this chevel de gardi? Look, the guy's going to come on Sunday and ask for his weaver's thing back. So what's the problem? Obviously, Chachamim hold no distinction. Like, look, I can't start making games here. If one day I allow him to use a chevel de gardi, tomorrow this guy's going to use a regular rope that he has in his basement, and that would be a problem. So I make it gzera. So what do Chachamim say? Gzera. And what does Rabbi Yehuda say? No gzera. Now we're going to bring a brisa that says the exact opposite. Chachamim say no gzera, and Rabbi Yehuda says yes gzera. Rabbi Yehuda savar lo gazrina, no gzera. B'ramino. I have a brisa that says something different, but the idea is the same, and we have a flip in the shitas. What if you have the rope right there? It's just broke right in the middle. On a weekday, you take the two broken parts and make one nice knot, and you're good to go. You're not allowed to do that. You make like a slip knot. In other words, Chachamim say you make a slip knot, and I'm not concerned that you'll confuse a slip knot with a regular knot. So over here, you see, they don't care about xera. They don't make xeras. You take a girdle, you take a belt, and you wrap it around the two ropes without making a kesher, without making a knot. You just use another piece of cloth. So the Gemara understands that the reason why you cannot make a slip knot here is because Rabbi Yehuda is the one that's concerned that you might confuse a slip knot with a regular knot. Yeah, I see Dr. whoever that is, Dr. So-and-so, has a whole picture of MetLife. You see, that MetLife wouldn't have happened if Corona was in place. Perfect. So we have a stira between Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbanan say, I am concerned that I have water. Yeshua's here for water. I already got it for my wife. Thank you. What else you want to help me with? Huh? Oh, it's not. Come here. Beautiful. Thank you for pointing that out. Here. Oh, it would have died in the middle. Here, take this and this and plug me up. Yeah, you saved me. I completely did. If Yeshua didn't come over, this phone and YouTube would have died. Is it pause in the middle? Is it still working? Is it good? Anyway, as we said before, Rabbi Yehuda is not concerned for Xera, whereas the Mishnah, he is, and he says you can't use any ropes, not even that of a, no, over here in the white thing. And Rabbanan, who in the Mishnah are concerned about Xeras, and they say you have to be careful one thing from another, over here, when it comes to tying this broken rope, they're not concerned. Says the Gemara, the Rabbanan like Kashya, Chevel, Bechevel, Michalef. The Gemara says beautifully. To say that, is it good? It's not good? Hold on a second. Why is it not good? Why are you saying it's not good? I don't know. Hopefully it'll be okay. Sorry, Rabbi Sai. First day is always the roughest. We'll get there. Again, sorry. Beautiful vart. People could confuse two ropes. You tell me this is a rope of a gardi, of a weaver. Okay, so tomorrow you won't know it's the weaver's rope. But a rope with another rope could be confused. Therefore, they said all ropes are also. I don't care who owns it. But you could tell a guy, listen, you could fix your pail on Shabbos if you don't make a real knot. You just make a slip knot. People know. Look, we make knots. We make ties all the time. Look, I'm wearing a tie right now. On Shabbos, we make it. Why? It's a slip knot. We know the difference. People don't confuse the two. Ella, Aniva, Gufa, sorry, let me have it. The review that really kasha, and you asked me to steer review. Then in the Mishnah, he's not concerned. He doesn't make xera. And over here, when it comes to a pail, a broken pail, he doesn't make xera. Hasam loy v'shum the mechalfa aniva b'kshira. Ella aniva gufa kshira yi. Review the holds that making a slip knot is a issa deraisa. That's considered tying. That's why that's considered making a knot. And that's why it says don't make a slip knot on Shabbos to fix your pail. The only way to do it is to take a belt and wrap it around the two strings. That's it. Maybe, by the way, on Amud Beis we have an easier Gemara like an Agadata. Maybe a person is permitted to take a rope, tie one end to his cow, and the other end to the avos, to the trough, to where the animal eats from. We just had him the other day. The tall Reb Acha asked the question, Reb Abu, it seems to be a perfect contradiction. It says Mefurish, the rope tied already to the trough, you're allowed to tie the other end to a cow. And if it's tied to the cow, you're allowed to tie it to the trough. But actually, it says specifically, do not bring a rope from your house and tie both ends like we just said a second ago. You're not allowed to. Says the Gemara, Hasam Chevel de Alma, Hacha the Chevel de Gardi. We're talking about again the rope that's owned by a weaver, and that we're not concerned that he's going to leave it there. Taisus brings two pshatim. Either we're talking about it goes according to Rabbi Yehuda before that will Chevel de Gardi, or it goes according to Rabbanan. Fine. Amar Rabbi Yehuda Mishmuel. Kli kivai mutar l'taldim b'Shabbos. So we're talking about the loom again. Now we're going back to the loom. Now, this is your typical loom. We are going to be talking, this is not such a beautiful picture, but that's the best I have today. This is the woman's loom that Rashi described the other day. And this one stands up. So these are the holes that go into the ground right over here. And what we're talking about right now are these kanem over here. These are sticks that go across and they pull the equal number threads, the chassis out, and the odd number in, etc. So you're allowed to touch, you're allowed to move these guys over here. How's it going? Is it charging the phone? No, because I'm not using that at all. That's for Zoom. I mean for the big camera in the basement. That's not for here. I think that the pshat is, I don't know if anybody agrees with me, I couldn't find anywhere, but I'm going to tell you that the pshat is, it doesn't really matter. But koyved elyon in this beautiful loom is right over here and right over here. You see how large these guys are? They're very, very large, and you wrap the garment around them. This one over here also. Elyon Tachton. Now, literally Elyon Tachton, if you want to talk about this guy, here's koyved elyon right over here, the top, literally above. And here's on the bottom. I don't think it's talking about this so much, personally. I might be wrong. Why? Because the Gemara says how heavy it is. This doesn't look very heavy to me at all. This is made for women. It's a smaller size. I might be wrong. Okay, fine. Says the Gemara, says the Gemara, very interesting lashon, found in Shas. I don't know how many times, I didn't look it up, but it's there. In Vilav, yes and no, v'rafi b'yadeh. He had no idea. He was confused. First he said yes, then he said no. I don't know. Like one of these, he wasn't sure. Now what's the problem of all these kalim? So Rashi says that's a klisha malachta le'isur. But it's a very interesting Rashi. It needs a lot of explanation. So if a kli is malachta le'isur, so you're allowed to move it, and sometimes you're not allowed to move it. What's the difference? So we have to explain. Typically, a klisha malachta le'isur, if you have, let's say, a hammer, so you're allowed to move it if you need it to break open a nut, to do some malacha that's mutter. Sometimes you're not allowed to move it. When? Rashi doesn't go to explain. Tosfos discusses more the concept of muksa machmas chesaron kis. If something is so valuable to you that you don't want to use it ever during the week, you don't let people use it, you don't lend it out. So perhaps this whole loom is such a expensive piece of equipment. It's muksa machmas chesaron kis. You don't start using it for other things. But to explain Rashi, perhaps you could explain that this kavod elyon is similar, let's say, to a sledgehammer. Who in the world uses a sledgehammer during the week for anything but Isser? It's a heavy piece of equipment. It's meant to break cement. It's not meant to crack open a nut. Even if you have a nut that needs cracking open, you're not going to go to your shed and take out a 20-pound sledgehammer. It doesn't work. And that would be klisha malachta le'isser that never has a heter. Maybe that's the pshat. Says the Gemara. So he says you're allowed to even carry these very heavy things, the kavod elyon and kavod atachton. So maybe I'm wrong, because from here it seems like we're talking about the same machine. Amudim are definitely over here. The nice picture doesn't have amudim really. Amudim are what go into the ground. It could be we're jumping from machine to machine. Kavod elyon tachton is in the nice machine. The amudim in the smaller machine. Could be. Why not? Why can't you move these amudim? Because when you take them, you remove them out of the ground, so you're creating holes in the ground. Says the Gemara, those holes were there before Shabbos. You're not creating a hole, you're just exposing the hole. You're removing something that was in the hole. That's fine. This not, I'll prove it to you. If you bury a turnip or a radish, tachas hagefen, right under a vineyard. Now, what's the problem with that? You have a problem with klei hakerem. You're not allowed to plant vegetables there. We have a number of problems. So, and we have this Gemara also in this Masechta, I think, maybe in Brachas, but probably here. It makes us megulim if some of the leaves are visible. So says Rashi, that's only for our issue of making a hole in the ground. You need leaves. For the other issues that we're about to discuss, you don't need leaves. And you don't have to worry about it, about planting there. This is a mature fruit you're putting into the ground. You're putting a whole turnip in there, a whole radish. What's the problem? It's not climb. You're not putting a seed in there. And you don't have to worry about you planting things on Shemitah. And you don't have to worry that maybe you have to give Meiser again. Why do you have to give Meiser? I already gave Meiser. But maybe you are being mevatel to the ground by burying it, and then you have to give Meiser again. You don't have to worry about it. But the point that we're looking for is this point. V'nitalim b'Shabbos. I'm allowed to remove it from the ground. What happens when I remove it from the ground? I'm making a hole in the ground. But I'm not making a hole in the ground, says the Gemara, because the hole was there before Shabbos. I'm just showing you where the hole is by taking out a turnip from the ground. I didn't make a hole in the ground. The hole was there in order to contain the turnip. So you see, you're allowed to do that on Shabbos. Says the Gemara, so then why aren't you allowed to remove these poles from the ground? What's the problem of removing this whole machine? You remove this machine from the ground, these guys right over here, what's the problem? So the Gemara, you're right, in a field, there's no problem at all. But you're in a house, you're in a factory that has a loom, and the loom is going to expose a hole. And what are you going to do when you have a hole in the middle of your living room? You are going to Ari Mazenkis. I haven't seen you in a while. Shalom Aleichem, Doc. Dr. Alan Rabinowitz, that's who he is. Okay. So if you remove these poles from the ground, it's not allowed because you're gonna not expose a hole, but because you expose a hole, you're gonna cover the hole. You're gonna cover a hole that's already baina, we said, in a house that's called baina. Same question we had a second ago. Are you allowed to move these guys, the upper guy and the lower guy on Shabbos? Says the Gemara, you're not allowed to. They're so heavy that even during the week, you don't move them. So certainly on Shabbos, you're not allowed to move them. So unless I don't understand the size of this loom, that's why I'm going back to my original pshat, that's part of this loom, and this is Kovet Elyon and Kovet Atachton. Says the Mishnah, this is a beautiful Mishnah, important to us on a Shabbos basis. I asked people, and some people weren't very familiar with these halachas, especially women. The Mishnah says you're allowed to fold clothing on Shabbos, even though it's going to help it's going to like take out the wrinkles on Shabbos. But since you need to use this on Shabbos, you're allowed to do it, even if it means that you're going to be doing this 4 to 5 times. 4 to 5 times, yeah, I'm going to fold it, use it, fold it again, use it, fold it again. This is a very important halacha. You're allowed to make your bed on Friday night because you're going to be using it on Shabbos morning. But what if you take a Shabbos nap? You're done with your nap at 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Are you allowed to make a bed? No, you cannot make your bed on Shabbos. Why? Because you're preparing from Shabbos to the weekday. I'm not sure that everybody knows this halacha. Now, there is ways to get around it, and that is that the Mishnah Berurah says that if it really bothers you so much that it's not an Einik Shabbos, so now you're doing it for Shabbos. It's a pleasant Shabbos. But most of the time, your bed is in your bedroom. You don't even see it on Shabbos, so it's a little bit of a problem to use that heter. You cannot make your bed on Shabbos, so you have a nice bed on Motzei Shabbos. When you go to sleep, usually is after Shabbos is over, and that will be a problem. We're going to see a lot more about this tomorrow. Rabbi Shmuel says you're allowed to go from Yom Kippur to Shabbos. Shabbos is more chomer, according to him, than Yom Kippur. So you could go from Shabbos, you could make your bed on Yom Kippur for Shabbos. And you're allowed to be makriv chaylev. And the whole mission is talking about now in those days when they had Yom Kippur Erev Shabbos and they had Yom Kippur on Sunday. Now we don't have that anymore. But you're allowed to be makriv from left over from the korbanos that you weren't makriv on Shabbos. You're allowed to be makriv the chaylev on Yom Kippur. According to Rabbi Shmuel, Yom Kippur is not as chomer as Shabbos. Amazing, right? We just had Shabbos. Shabbos, according to Rabbi Shmuel, is more chomer than a Yom Kippur. We think, oh, Yom Kippur, wow, the holiest day of the year or whatever, it has this. No, every Shabbos has more chomer than Yom Kippur, according to Rabbi Shmuel. And therefore, I cannot take something that was I can't take something that was from Yom Kippur and put it on Mizbeach on Shabbos. But vice versa, I could. Rabbi Kiva holds no. Shabbos and Yom Kippur are equal in chumrah. Therefore, lo shel Shabbos krevim b'Yom Kippurim, lo shel Yom Kippurim krevim Shabbos. Says the Gemara. Amar debei Rabbi Yanayin, lo shon ala b'adam echad. So now we're saying the Mishnah says you're allowed to fold your clothing. The Gemara says, wait a minute, stop. Like a lot of Mishnayos. It tells you halacha, but there are a lot of rules, and we have 5 conditions here. 5 conditions. Condition number 1 is only a single individual could do it. A lot of times you take a sheet and you give it to somebody else, and you start going back and forth 2 people. Asur. Why? Because they take out the wrinkles a lot better. It has to be newer clothing, not old ones. So that's condition number 2. It has to be white. So a lot of what we have today is out the window. We can fold white shirts if yeshivish, but that's it. Nothing else. because you're taking out more wrinkles with the colored clothing. I guess it was stiffer, whatever the reason was in the colored clothing. And a fourth condition, it has to be that you don't have another pair of clothing, you don't have another suit. That's it. If you have more clothing, you're not allowed to fold them. And what's the fifth klal? That has to be for today. It has to be for Shabbos, like we had in the Mishnah. Must be in the Mishnah. I have over here, I don't know if by you in your Gemara, but I have Rav Nisim Gaon, who was a Gaon before the Rishonim. He writes over here, basically he brings a whole story here that they didn't have clothing. They they only had one pair of clothing, and he said, what should we do? And he said, for you, as we're going to see, you have to let your clothing long. Act as if you're chashav. Wear it long like the rich people. But there was such a thing. We're about to, the YouTube is not working again. Let me see something. Hold on just one second. This thing is, it died. I thought you told me it's recharging. What? I thought you told me it's recharging.
Eli, just forget it. We're recording the Zoom. Just continue, please.
Hold on 1 second. 1 second. I'm gonna.
We have people waiting on YouTube. They want to know what's going on.
So whatever, just go Zoom. Hold on.
Eli, forget YouTube.
1 second. Here, take that thing out.
Let it go. Let it go.
You can do art school, by the way. Okay. Here, hold on. Make sure it's nice and straight.
But now it's a new link.
Okay, whatever. We'll try to combine it. We'll make a new link. We'll do the chelik 1, chelik 2. We're on? What's going over there?
Eli, now Zoom is not working.
Okay, you sent the wrong guy here. Whatever.
Eli, now Zoom is not working.
It's not? Why?
It doesn't look like you. It's Yoshua giving shir now.
Are you kidding? Yeah. All right, let's go back.
Zoom is fine. Zoom is fine.
Okay. Where are we? What Masechta are we in? Fine. So these are the different conditions that we have. So, no, I was just saying that Rav Nisim Gaon says that those were the times. There were times that people had one pair of clothing, and for Shabbos, you had to be Mishalshalit. We'll see soon. Says the Gemara. Who's talking over there? That's Gershon again. Gershon, your Zoom is on. I can hear.
Yeah, I know. I
can hear your kid on the background, so shut it off. Says Gemara. Fine. Tana. Shall base Rabbi Gamliel loy hayu mekablim klei lavan shelahen. So we see this concept that since if you have another pair of something, so then that's one of the 5 conditions. You're not allowed to fold it if you have another pair. Now, what about a talus on Shabbos? What about a talus? Are you allowed to fold your talus? Anybody? No. So, talus you're not allowed to. Why? So look at Taisus Dibra Masim and Kapim Kalim. Look at Taisus. Mikan lo madnu. The asur lekapel talisay shel beis hakneses lefishahem letzorech mocher. The talus in shul you're not allowed to because it's for tomorrow. Now the Mechaber brings that here Yosef is already folding his talus. The Mechaber brings that if you don't fold it on the creases, then there are those who are mekel. They say it's okay, and the Mishnah Berurah says that about nefesh yachma alatzvei, you shouldn't even fold it not on the creases. So you have a talus, you just bunch it up and you throw it away. I always feel really bad when I'm a chazan, like to do that to them. Like they gave me a nice folded talus, and what are you going to do? Maybe I should be saimach on The Mechaber who says that it's not on the creases, it's okay. On the creases, definitely asur. Not on the creases, yeshal milismoich, but it's better not to fold on Shabbos. Omar Avuna, im yeshal lahachlef, yachlef.
Eli,
What? Who's coming?
I don't know which Mechaber and Mishabur you're talking about,
Yeah.
but the Mechaber and Mishabur that I know, Shin Beis, Sif
Yeah.
Gimel,
Yeah.
Sif Cotton,
Veneer and Dvarov. Here, look at this.
Gimel.
Okay, I have it open here. Yes, Mishoime, the Lekaploi, Shaloi can say the Kipula Rishon, Mutter Bechol Inyan, Veneer and
That's right.
Dvarov. Hold on, Veneer and Dvarov. That's the Mechaber I'm
Yeah.
talking about. Yeah.
That's right.
Now,
Look at Mishnah Yud Gimel.
V'chein tzasma achronim ladino, umikol mokoi.
Look at Sif Cotton Yud Gimel.
Vaday odif. It's better. No? What's wrong with that?
That's not talking about a talis. That's talking about other things. Talis is in Mishnah Berurah, Sif Cotton Yud Gimel.
You're talking about in Gimel?
Yud Gimel, Mishnah Berurah.
Oh. ולאחר also לקבל התעזה כפי שמצווה ציצס כל היום ויוכל לסעד בו מקומם כיוון שאין בדל לסעד בו אסור אם לא ימוגם שנוהג לסעד בטליס במנחה. Why is the towels different than anything else?
Gotcha.
Okay. I hear yesh la'ayin you're saying. Fine. Not the place. We got to go weiter. This shit is going to last until 2 o'clock. Fine. I don't know. I hear you want to be mechav between towels and something else. Says the Gemara. So going back to this idea, if you have another clothing out there, it's better to use your other clothing and not to fold the original. And if you don't have, you're that poor, you don't have another pair of clothing, you shall be gadav. What does that mean? You should undo your clothing. In those days, the workers, they would lift their clothing up so that it didn't get dirty on the ground. And the wealthy guys that were homebound, they used to drag their clothing. We had about the women used to walk in the shuk, with the dresses dragging the floor. Was the thing. So you need to pretend that you're chashav on Shabbos. You only have one clothing. So you undo it on Shabbos and you let it long. Look at this Nabach guy. He has one pair of clothing and he's undoing his one pair of clothing because that's all he has for Shabbos, and you're accusing him of being about gaiva. This gaiva, keep the chol yoyma like ovid, v'ay know the ovid. Okay. Since everybody notices, it's obvious why he's doing this. It's not considered gaiva. We had a similar thing, by the way, in brachas. This is for 50,000 points, but I'm just going to say it real quick. In brachas of Lamates, we had a similar idea that if a person, Aaron Zenkis knows because he did it chazara, if a person makes very large, he cuts his bread in very huge pieces, so the Gemara said, oh, you look like a balgaiva. So, no, everybody knows you're doing it for Shabbos. It's that idea. Fine. It says the Gemara, by the way, I have a tremendous course. I wanted to say this before. I should actually put his painting. The first day of COVID, I got in the mail. Literally, I was here in the house, all depressed. What happened to the whole base marriage and everything? And a giant painting came from Avi Tikotsky, I think his name is. Avram Tikotsky. Yeah, come bring it here. So, why am I saying this? Because he wrote that he wears a hat when he makes a kiddush, because that's what we learned. And I also started wearing my hat again. And I think Avi Mendelbaum bought a black hat to cover the Indian. No, I'm making that up, Avi. Don't worry. Don't. I was just. So this is what he bought. It was a beautiful painting, and it was inscribed for my wife. Here, you can hang it up over there behind me. Should be. Akopanim. Now, because I learned this Gemara on Friday, I decided to take this upon myself also. I'm one of those lazy people. I like to say V'shamru b'nei Shabbos. Start right from V'shamru. Skip all the psukim from before. But I learned these beautiful psukim that have so much in them. They explain what Shabbos is all about. So this week I said it. Hopefully I remember next week as well. Got to incorporate what we learned. We have psukim here that have more limudim that you'll ever find in Navi. From 1 or 2 psukim. What does it say? It says in the pasuk, "In toshiv mishavas reglecha." Because we're saying, if you'll keep my Shabbos, you'll take your feet back into home. You won't walk around. You won't do your things that you typically do during the week. B'yom kachim, my holy day. And you're going to call Shabbos a delight. It's going to be a delight for you. Ligdosh Hashem, which is it's Kodesh Hashem, mechubad, b'chibadtoi. Give it covet, and the Gemara is going to explain what these words mean. Ma'asais brachecha, from doing your typical things. Mimtzoi chefzecha, from doing all your business, v'daber dover, and talking. And what's the next pasuk? Oz tisanag al Hashem. Beautiful. Then you'll delight in Hashem. You keep Shabbos, you'll delight in Hashem. Says the Gemara, what does it mean? You should be mechabed Shabbos. You have to have different garments for Shabbos. I know people that have different belts and different shoes and different socks and different everything. Everything different. It says in the pasuk, Rabbi Yochanan called his clothing they are mechabed him. They give him honor. Next, ma'asois rochecha. What do we learn from those words? You need to walk differently. And the Gemara says later, it means don't walk with very large steps. It should be nice, mechubet steps, Shabbos steps. Your business is also you're allowed to donate tzedakah, talk about tzedakah on Shabbos. And you're allowed to make shidduchim, says Rashi. Nobody's here to sing the song. So we go weiter. V'daber davar, unbelievable. Today's Amud Beis is sponsored by Official from Official Catering. An amazing halacha. You're not allowed to talk the same talk that you do on a weekday. Says Taisves, look at this Taisves. It's not talking about just business. Listen to this story. His mother or Safta spoke a lot. She blabbled. He told his mother, Ima, Shabsahu, what are you doing? Shabbos. Shaska. She shut up. Says Taisves, you don't talk as much on Shabbos as you talk in the weekday. The famous Vilna Gaon in his Igeres, he writes, "Bekoishi yitiru." B'torach means bekoishi. They hardly allowed you to say hello on Shabbos. Okay, this is not this is a Gemara. You're not to talk the same amount of words and the same type of talking that you talk in a weekday. You got to be careful with your words. Reb Shimon bar Yochai tells his mother Shabbos, and she's quiet. Dibur asur hirim mutar. You're allowed to think about business in your head. I understand them all. I have one problem, says the Gemara. What does it mean you're not allowed to walk like you walk in the weekday? He was walking in Shabbos and he bumped into a puddle. If you don't have to jump, you can just leave your left foot on one side of the puddle and put your right foot on the other side. Great, mutter, maybe that's what it means. You're not allowed to jump over a puddle. It doesn't make any sense. Like if you wanted to go around the puddle, that will be a tirchi you say around Shabbos. You're not allowed to work hard on Shabbos. So if you're increasing your steps to go around the puddle, that's worse than jumping over the puddle. Says the Gemara, li'aber. So what should he do? Walk through the puddle. So maybe some money, his clothing will become wet. Maya full of water. And it'll come to schita, which is libon. That's not the point. The point is you're allowed to jump over a puddle. The problem is different. What's the halacha? Could you take large steps in Shabbos? Are you allowed to take big steps in a weekday? We learned this in Bram. When you take steps, large steps during the week, it takes away 1/500 of your eyesight. So why aren't we blind? When you make kiddush on Friday night, says Rashi, drink the wine. Other Rishonim say you put the wine on your eyes, then it goes back, it reverts back to where it was. Are you allowed to do that on Shabbos? You allowed to put wine on your eyes? Why is that not considered a refuah on Shabbos? It should be because, as we mentioned, the Rishonim say, we mentioned that it's anything that's like heebie-jeebie, it's not a real refuah, like a scientific proven refuah, you're allowed to do. This is more like, okay, it's a zgula, you put something on your eye and it's okay. Are you allowed to eat dirt on Shabbos? Says Rashi, what's the problem? The problem is because people ate this dirt for refuah. So is this gzeras shchika samemanim? You're allowed to eat dirt during the week. It's also it's really bad for your stomach. It hurts your body. Anything that hurts your body, you're not allowed to do. Look at that. Yeah, so those teenagers just thinking aloud here. You go to the bar, whatever you do, they take crazy amount of shots. You're hurting your body. That's awesome. Anything that hurts your body is awesome. Or all those deers that they say, do this and eat this, and it's really bad for you. Awesome. If you eat the dirt of Bavel, it's literally like eating your forefathers because you don't know where they were buried. During the Gullahs, they killed so many Jews. They're scattered throughout Bavel. In Eretz Yisrael, they bury them properly. You're makbid, but in Chutz La'aretz it's not. So maybe when you eat a piece of dirt, you're eating a dead person in there. You're eating the dead shkatzim from the mabel. Everything, all the animals became disintegrated. And where did they go? Where did that disintegration go? They were all dumped there. Why is Bavel called Mitzula? She called Mesim Abel. They sank over there. They went like a tzlila, like scuba diving, all the way down to the bottom. How's that possible? They became disintegrated, so you're not eating anything. It happened thousands of years ago, and the water, the hot water, the boiling water, the mabel, they just became disintegrated. They're not in the dirt. When you eat dirt, you're not eating them. Amri, so it says Gemara, Kivin the Malki, since it's really bad on your body, goes Rabbanan. Rabbanan made exer, you shouldn't eat it, like as if you're eating shkatzim remasum. You're not eating literally shkatzim remasum. Just recently, my daughter told me, I didn't realize this. I'm a really bad father. She told me that up until like a few years ago, she was really worried about eating the pits, the seeds of an apple, because I guess I was messing around with her when she was a kid, and I told her, if you eat seeds of apple, an apple tree is going to grow in your stomach. So she believed it. Until she's like 18 years old, she believed it. Terrible. But look what the Gemara says here. The Gemara says, he ate like clay, then he ate crest. We had a crest, I don't have a picture of it, but we just had it a few days ago. So the crest was able to grow in his stomach somewhere and hit his heart, and he died. So therefore, the Gemara says it's not a good idea to eat dirt. And they made exeria to it. Says the Gemara, now we're going on Agadata. We're talking about Ruth. Nami, the mother-in-law, tells Ruth, go to Boaz, the Galadar, bathe yourself, anoint yourself with oil, and put on your clothing. Similarly, ask the Gemara, what? The mother-in-law has to tell her to get dressed. What's the other option? Not to get dressed. Amar Lazar, no. What you meant to say is put on your fine clothing, not get dressed. You have to get dressed. But what clothing? Wear your best. Big day Shabbos. Says the Gemara, There, Omar Rebbe Lazar, Zurus HaMevia, Ushmul HaRamasi. Two people that didn't take literally what they were told. They enhanced what they were told. So Ros, Dilu, Naomi, Kamrala, Berachatz, Vasach, Vasam, Sulisai, Cholai, Virata, Goyren. Naomi told, Naomi told Ros, do all these things, then go down into by the wheat over there by Bayaz. But Rus changed it around. She did everything her mother-in-law told her, but in a different order. First, she went down. Then she bathed and did everything else. Why? Says Rashi, if she would leave her house in Big Shabbos and then go over there to where all the workers are, people are going to think she's a Zayda. Shmuel, Eli Stefansky, crazy story over there with Shmuel. Shmuel is laying in bed, and all of a sudden he hears Shmuel, Shmuel. So he jumps out of bed. He runs to Eli. He said, "You call me?" He says, "No." Okay, I must be hearing things. He goes back in the bed. Shmuel, Shmuel. Eli realizes that what Shmuel is hearing is HaKadosh Baruch Hu's voice, and Shmuel's he's the rookie. He didn't realize. He didn't know what Nevuah was. So Eli tells him, "Go into your bed again. And if you hear that voice, say, Daber Hashem. Hashem, please speak." Shmuel changed it around. And the Gemara was proud of Shmuel for changing it, not listening to Eli 100%. Hashem, he say Hashem's name, and say, Kishumei Avdecha, your servant hears. Shmuel, when Hashem actually called his name, Daber Kishomei Avdecha, and he took out Hashem's name. Why? Because Shmuel is concerned, maybe it's a malach, maybe he's hearing voices. So he's scared to say Hashem's name. He's makbid not to say Hashem's name in vain. Continuing on, she kept on going back and forth, until she found the proper people. Says the Gemara, is Boaz, says Rashi, staring at women? How does he even know? How does he know who she was? Why is he asking about girls? He noticed an amazing thing, that she had chachma. Why? When there's leket shikchol peah, she was gathering the matnes aniyim. She was adi, so she was grabbing, but she only picked up 2 and not 3. 3 is not considered leket. She knew the halacha which other people didn't know. He saw that she was a tzinu. When he left over of the peah, he left over standing grain, so she was standing up and she grabbed it. Knife lies, but if it was already on the ground, for her to bend over, she would expose her legs, and that's not sneeze. So she would sit down and take it from the ground. Why would he use such a, it's almost a vulgar, it's lidabig, to become one with another woman? He noticed Batishak Arpa L'chamai. So the other sister-in-law, Arpa. By the way, okay, don't have to mention these guys. There's a guy in America, a famous guy, a billionaire. Her name it was supposed to be Arpa, but it's misspelled to whatever. There's a P before the R. I think maybe she was named Arpa when she was born, but then somehow switched. Fine. I always thought that her mother misspelled it. Put the P before the R or whatever. When she saw that, when Boaz noticed that Arpa said to her mother-in-law, adios, gave her a kiss, I'll see you later. But Ruth was davak. She didn't want to leave her mother-in-law. She wanted to be Jewish. Then he realized that she was becoming a Geiris for sincere reasons, and then Omar Shari Dafka Ba, Omar Shari Dabuki Ba. Then he realized that he couldn't marry her because he can't marry a Geiris if she's not a real Geiris. At that point, they realized that she's the real deal. Come here, haloim. But haloim is a rare word, only found very rarely. Where he had rocha kodesh. He threw something out there. You're going to be zoicha Ruth to have David HaMelech. The chsiv bei haloim. David HaMelech will also use this interesting word haloim. Shneimar vayom HaMelech David v'yeshev v'nei Hashem. Vayomer mi anochi, who am I? Hashem Elokim umi beisi ki aviseni ad haloim. Aviyoisani ad haloim. So you also use this word zereshava, and therefore he was meramis to her that you're going to have David. V'tobat pitach b'chaymetz. You're going to dip your bread in vinegar. We just had it the other day. Dipping things into vinegar. If you have a toothache. From here you see that if it's really hot outside, vinegar is good. No, not telling you that it's good to drink vinegar. It was more of a hint. You're going to have a descendant that his actions are going to be terrible like vinegar. Menashe. In fact, Menashe caused the Churban Abayis. Menashe was a bad guy. She sat on the next to the reapers. She didn't sit within them. She sat on the outskirts of them. Boya sat on one end of the table. She sat all the way at the other end, and the kotzim were in the middle. In other words, to tell her that base David is going to be divided. Boya is one, Ruth is the other. It's going to be divided. They accumulated a lot of money in the time of David, and they were very satiated and had tons of presents, Rashi says, and stuff in the time of Shlomo. There's leftover, too much. And some say they gathered and accumulated wealth in the time of David Shlomo. Was already enough in the days of Chizkiah, also her descendant. When was it too much? B'mei Rebbe. Famous Rebbe, the Omar Mar, the Rebbe have a osid mishover malko, have a atir mishover malko. The guy in charge of the stables, the way it worked, if you're in charge of the stable, you got all the manure. Manure is fertilization. So he had a fertilizer business, and he had more money from his fertilizer than the king, Shover Malko. He was wealthier than a king. That's how much money they had in those days, in the time of Rebbe. Right? The famous Rebbe that he never had, always had radishes on his table and snow, no matter what the season was. It's not referring to this world accumulating wealth. She ate in this world. You see, there's two types of, there's a time of Mashiach and there's loss of love. The Gemara always talks about two different periods of time. We're almost done, Rabbi Yisrael. Says in the pasuk by Sancheiriv, 180,000 soldiers died when they came to the surrounding Yerushalayim, and Sancheiriv poked fun at HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He said, "I don't care, even Rebbeinu Shalom, I'm going to take him on." So it says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, there was a fire, like the fire like a flame of a fire, or Rabbi Yochanan. Three-way machlokes here. V'tachas k'foidoi, again, Rabbi Yochanan's l'shitasoi. We said before, Rabbi Yochanan holds that clothing gives him cover. So underneath the clothing, they were burnt. It's like in a movie almost, like a laser beam came and burnt their bodies to a crisp, but it didn't touch their clothing at all. See a bunch of green guys, green, like, they're wearing their madim, whatever it's called. What's it called in English? Uniform. Their uniforms. Everything's great. Their shoes, everything. There's no body inside. Crisp, ashes. How does he learn it? What's amazing is that he's not mechulik on the outcome. The machlokes between the first two is just how you get to the outcome. They probably had a Masarda, they're trying to fit it into the words. B'tachas k'foidoi. Underneath, their clothing was burnt, not the clothing. He used to call his clothing that that gave him covet. So underneath that covet. Means instead of, not under. V'tachas can mean instead of. V'tachas kvoida, instead of his body, tachas kvoida mamish. In other words, instead of his body were ashes, but the clothing remained. So they got to the same place, but they learned it from different words. Rabbi Shmuel ben Achmeni takes a little bit of each. And he says, the pshat in kvoida means beged, like Rabbi Yochanan. And the pshat in tachas is like Rabbi Eliezer, that it means instead of. But it has a different pshat. It's not that the body was burned and the clothing weren't. Like the sons of Aaron, other than Avihu, who died. Mala alon sreifas neshama, fire came and consumed them. What did the fire consume? Their neshama v'guf kayom. Afkan sreifas neshama v'guf kayom. So he's mechulk on both of them. The body wasn't burnt. The body existed. What was burnt? The neshama. Rabbi Isai, have a wonderful, wonderful evening and a great week. Be'ezer Hashem, my son is going to have a test tomorrow, and if I come back negative, I'm going to come back to the Bismillah Be'ezer Hashem. Whoever wants, I think we're still going to, I don't know, Mati, I don't know what happened over there. Did anybody stay in the Bismillah tonight?
Yeah, I left. Some guy stayed.
One guy?
A few guys stayed. I left.
Two guys
Guys
stayed.
stayed.
Oh,
There's a whole bunch of guys. Let's see. Cool.
Everyone.
I see 7, 8 guys, 10 guys, at least 10 guys. Hold on.
I left with Rishol and Tom Epstein.
Nechemia Seltzer, great. Okay, cool. All right, Rabbi Isai.
Correct for Eli.
Shabbos. I'll be on for a few minutes. Meanwhile, you can shut off YouTube.
We'll be open tomorrow.
The other thing that says.
Good that you got that big screen. It's good that you put the big screen in the base measure so that they can learn from it.
Okay.
Shavua tov.
David, Shavua Metziyan.
Shavua Tov, Rebel. Great year.
Shavua Tov, Yaakov.
I don't know. Something's happening.
Ellie, you're showing this cameras from the share, the show. Finish.
She's there now.
Ellie, your phone is being shared on Zoom. You don't want anything embarrassing to come up.
My phone?
Your whole phone is being shared on the screen.
It's not my phone.
It's not your phone. Look, you have the cameras.
Cameras, Gary's.
Nechemia Seltz is calling right now.
He's calling Gary.
Oh, he's calling Gary?
Oh, now we've got his number.
How did that happen?
So I wanted to share something that happened to me today, something actually quite scary, but there's a lesson to be learned here. We were cleaning up lunch, and very suddenly there was a very strong smell of something burning. And we looked around, we didn't see anything. One of my daughters went out to our backyard to shake the crumbs out of the tablecloth, and she comes back in. There was something on fire in the McGrash right behind us. So I went running.